So I didn't hire the people. My boss hired the people and then would give them to me, and I would train them. In the first 3 days, I knew whether they were going to be successful or not, because if you're in a commission-based position, I knew that you had to be highly motivated to basically be building the plane as you're flying it, right? So even though I'm giving you the basics and I'm like, here's the manual for this, here's the manual for that, the person who would say to me like, can I get on the phone? Can I get on the phone? Can I make a call? I was like, that's the person who's going to be successful. That's because they were like not afraid of the phone. Whereas I'd have other people who'd come in and they'd be like, well, can I read that again? Can I read this again? I'm like, oh no, this is not going to work. Yeah.
What's one piece of advice you give to your younger self?
Do a little bit more in college and know that you're going to be awesome.
Vibes. Episode 143. Okay. So we have on our first faculty member.
Probably the only non-athlete we've ever had on this show in its entirety, if I'm being honest.
Really?
I mean, we had...
I think so.
Who else? I mean, yeah, Steph was...
The only non-college coach, only non-athlete. One of very few women, actually, too.
I was an athlete, but a long time ago.
What did you
Maybe
play?
we have to get into it.
Yeah, we definitely have to get into it. But I guess Shift Across the Border is expanding a little bit. Talk about your athletic career. What did you play? Where did you play?
I mean, when I was in junior high school and high school, you mean? So I played field hockey, I played softball, I played lacrosse, and then I did that all the way through. And then when I was in college, I've told this story before, but I'm going to say it again. I played on the women's club lacrosse team, and in our first game, we lost 14-4. And all the women on the team were like happy and okay with it. And I'm a competitive fool. So I was like, I quit. Because I couldn't stand the fact that they were happy. And then I went and managed the men's lacrosse team.
And I'm assuming
I was at Mount St. Mary's University in Maryland.
I'm assuming that team was pretty good then, if you went to go coach it instead of losing on the girls' team as a player.
Our men's lacrosse team was pretty good. I mean, I wasn't coaching. I was just counting ground balls as a student.
I feel like there's a ton of Mount St. Mary schools.
Yeah, it's one of the ones that Ben's going to go to after the semester is also St. Mary's.
No, the semester this year.
This year, yes.
Yeah, we didn't mean to out him like that. We might have to cut that out. But yeah.
Yeah, there's one in California, there's one in New York, and then mine's in Maryland.
Okay.
Mine's the best, of course.
Division I school?
It is school? Now. It was Division II when I was there.
Okay.
And they have gotten into the basketball dance in March.
Really?
But they usually lose in the first round.
Yeah. I mean, they probably end up matched up with a pretty good school.
They have, if you look up the coach was pretty famous for his bow ties and everything. And anyway, very good.
So one of the things I'm curious about is how you ended up at Elms. Because I know I had your class last year, and I sort of had some background into what you did before you got to Elms because I read your resume. But I'm kind of curious as to what you did through high school and how you decided to end up where you are now. So
this is one of the things I love about what I get to do here, because I had no idea what I wanted to do with myself. I mean, literally all through college, everything. My parents were school teachers, so I decided, my dad was like, don't be a school teacher. And I was like, oh, okay. I don't know what I'm going to do then. So I got a business degree and came out of college and still was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, and ended up working with the Children's Camping Association in New York City, and then went into the recruiting world. This is the stuff that you already know, Chris, and then obviously ended up here. But I think the thing to know, and what I realized, is that it's a pattern of helping people get to the next step. And that's what it was really all about. Like, if you had talked to my 15-year-old version of me and said, Nancy, you're going to end up being an assistant dean at a college, nope. Never would have been anything that would have ever crossed anybody's mind. I still, right now, I call up some of my college friends and say, guess what I'm doing? And we have quite a good time talking about it. But this is exactly where I'm supposed to be, because I love working with all of you and really kind of like watching your minds kind of get blown as you start figuring out what's going on, what's going well for you, and where you're going to go.
I was going to say, you are a very big people person, and it's like, it's very noticeable very when we talk to you. And like, I haven't seen you in 6 months, but you remember something that I told you in class one day, and then you bring it up, and it's reassuring. That's what I'll say. It's like you have a very reassuring presence when you talk to people.
Well, thank you. Don't ask me about accounting, but you can ask me about things I remember about you in conversations.
So you're the assistant dean of students here.
Of academic student success.
And what does that entail? What does that entail?
So basically, I oversee here the Center for Student Success where we are, and that covers the Career Services Office, student accommodations, tutoring, and obviously we have this lovely administrative assistant, Tina. You know Tina. And then my role, along with doing that, is I have a lot to do with retention. And I also am the director of advising. So I work with the faculty about our advising program because you know that we have a faculty advising model. You all have advisors.
Yeah.
And then we also have the academic coaching program for students that, just need a little extra boost.
So what are you working on right now in terms of like this part of the semester?
Right now, I'm working on getting all of you lovely students registered for classes. So if you're not registered yet, please take care of that. And if you have questions or problems, come see me.
People actually don't even realize how important that is because, especially at a small school like this, like classes fill up very quickly.
True.
And there's a lot of people we don't have infinite majors. Like there's a lot of majors that are popular. There's like nursing major, obviously, and then there's like business is popular. There's like a bunch of different types of majors that are popular that a lot of people are in. And so if you don't be proactive in booking the right classes that you need to take the steps in your academic, process that will allow you for the career that you want, like you might have to take maybe an extra semester in order to get some of these credits that you need or stuff like that. So it's very, very important.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. That's why working with your advisor is such a value add to you and really spending the time with them. Like if you all understand your Elms Connect and your academic area so that you can go into the conversation being prepared, that's what's important. And that's something I think sometimes gets missed. You go in and you and the advisor just basically go through your schedule and then it's like, oh, we've already taken 45 minutes and you got to go. Mm-hmm. So the more the students engage in recognizing what is my progress, where am I, that's really helpful to you to get more value out of your advising time.
Mm-hmm. Is this your first position in this type of field at a college?
So I'm going to back up for a second.
Okay.
So I think you both know I've been here for 13 years.
Okay.
I came to Elms as the Career Services Director.
Okay.
And so in that area, I did a lot around advising because it was career services. Mm-hmm. And that's actually where I started really getting interested in the advising side of the world. I used to work with the person who was in my role before and do presentations with him and things like that. And then my path took me, I worked as the business development specialist for the MBA program and our Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership, I was working with Amanda Garcia and Kip Kenny.
That's a very good duo.
Oh, yeah. We had a good time together.
Amanda. That's a great duo. She's my advisor, actually.
Good. Yeah.
So I've had a lot of meetings with her. Even like one time when my dad brought me, like to help move me in.
Yeah.
Me and my dad had a meeting with her to go over because I was changing my major and everything. And so she's awesome.
Yeah,
you two are like two of the biggest cogs in the machine that make this school run. Yeah.
Well, that's very kind of you. I really like when we get to work together because the enthusiasm level just is ridiculous. So
she actually is the one that made me wake up at 7:30 this morning for my exam.
Perfect. Well, I'm glad that you did that.
I don't know why she only wants to teach at 8 a.m. But
well, she doesn't only want to. It's just that's when the class needs to be. So
yes, taxes are more effective at 8 a.m.
Having gone through one of your classes, I know that one of the big things that you like to do is bring in old students
yes.
to tell us about their stories.
Yes.
So I'm wondering when and why did you start doing that?
I have been so fortunate to stay in touch with so many alums and the business division in particular, because you know how I talk about networking and making connections.
We're going to get to that in a minute, but yes.
Okay. Well, so I just always was talking with them, and then I would start seeing like how successful, like the opportunities that these people were going into and what they were creating and how they were growing in their fields. I'm like, this is, 1 + 1 = 2. And I will also say that other faculty in the business division had done some of that work previously too. So then I was just like, okay, well, I know all these people and they all were happy to be here and were ready to come back. Mm-hmm. So that's how I started.
Do you have any, can you give I guess the audience or even me, because I haven't been in one of your classes, so I like a successful student that and you can even shout them out.
I'm going to shout them out.
That's been to Elms and kind of what they're doing now.
Yeah. So one of my favorite ones is Darius Griffin.
Okay.
Darius is now 32 years old. He was an Elms basketball player, business student, accounting major, and also an RA. And when I first started working here, he was a sophomore. And the basketball coach at that time was very big on making sure that the career services office was connected with the basketball team. So he would come in my office, he'd plop down in his sweatpants and his slides and sit back, and I'm like, what's up? He's like, I'm tired. He said that to me every day for the next 3 years that he was at Elms, and he left here. He did the enterprise internship. He won't mind that I said all of this. He then went to work for doing finance for like Girls Inc., which is up in Holyoke. And then lo and behold, he gets this job with General Dynamics. This man has moved up the ladder 4 times already in General Dynamics. Awesome. He's like the head of supply, like overseeing massive projects, multi-million-dollar projects, and he just got promoted and is moving to Scottsdale, Arizona with his wife, who's also an Elms grad nurse, and he's going to be working with their space program.
That's awesome.
And I know that, I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about money, but I can tell you right now that that man is making, I can't even imagine in comparison to my salary what he's making at this point. So I always am like, hey, let's stay in touch.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, because that was one of the reasons we had Dimitri.
Did he come to your class?
Darius? Yeah, he came, and then Dimitri Tessier as well. Which
yes.
He listened to the podcast, and then I messaged him, and he came on, and we had a pretty good episode. I think it was like 2 hours of just nonstop grilling his brain. And he has a really
Meech?
Yeah. Meech.
Okay, I was like.
Yeah. Who's Dimitri Tessier?
Yeah. Okay.
No, yeah, and that was a really good episode.
I still talk to him.
Yeah.
Like I'll post that, like the game day things. I'll repost on Instagram, and then he'll like respond and be like, "I've been watching the games. Like, keep shooting the ball or whatever," and he'll give me some constructive, positive feedback.
It's the Nancy effect. Everyone just starts networking and talking to each other.
He's a great
nonstop.
guy.
I mean, he's another one too. When I was here with him, and just he was involved in everything, and he was like, "Oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this," and he just really has amazed me. Every choice that he's made, and I'm excited watching him every step that he takes.
The first person that you said reminds me of somebody that I know, just because RA in the dorms. Accounting major.
Always tired.
Always tired. Sweatpants and slides. And yeah.
Oh, Max, is that you?
NASA. So what's good with the stuff?
I'm curious because like you talk a lot about people and these things. Did you ever consider going into like a psychology field or being a therapist or that kind of thing?
Yes. Since I've been doing all of this work. So, because one of the other things that I do here is, you may all know, we have a care team. So we have, for the staff and faculty, we have 2 things for students. We have an early alert system that has to do with academics, and then we have the care team that has to do with all things outside, like that are not academic, like if somebody's having food insecurity or needs transportation or is having mental health, all of those types of things. And we meet as a team and sort through when people put in reports to kind of, what do we need to do? How can we help? And, you know, I am lucky. I'm so lucky that you all talk to me the way that you do, because I have a lot of conversations that are not around academics. So I know where to send people, how to help that. And I guess 2 things. If I was starting over my career and I knew who I was, probably still education would definitely still be in my life. And then I think like therapy route, things of that nature. But I get to do all of it now.
So I know at the beginning of the year, this is completely irrelevant to anything I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
I know at the beginning of the year when I was walking in the library with Chris, and you're like, Chris, like, how was your internship? Did you ever hear about how his internship went?
He never came to my office and told me how his internship was.
So we're gonna go.
And I am not shocked. You know, every time I saw him, I thought, still didn't come by.
Well, maybe You look fun.
I have a problem where people tell me like they invite me to do things and then I just completely end up not doing them. People get really mad at me for that. Like it's not. Don't think it's not a personal thing with you. It's just.
I think it's some character
everybody-
development that needs to go on.
It's
over
just
there.
like
Maybe that's why you got
everybody I
fired,
know.
but we'll get into that.
What?
I mean, I can go through the internship
Give her a summary.
story.
Give her a summary. I just want to know if you're
Basically, I was going to Milwaukee.
I
have
did.
a sales internship.
Yes.
And I showed up, met my manager, Christian Hafner. He's a Mormon and ex-Division I basketball player. So me and him hit it off pretty much immediately. And I was talking to him for a bit. And
because
he
you're a
was like,
Mormon as well.
no, just because
just 'cause you played
because of the basketball thing. And like I was talking to him, and then I met a few of the other guys who had already been there for about a week when I got there. It was Ezra and Carlos. And my house was actually locked, the place I was supposed to stay, so I had to sleep in their room for the first 2 nights. And I was just like asking them questions about like what's it like on the doors and all
Yeah.
this stuff. And automatically, like, dude, it's hell. Like, it's rough out there. Like, Ezra was telling me the story about how he went up there, tried to sell this lady the pest control, and she was like, because one of our pitches was that it's plant based, and so she was asking like, oh, what's it made out of? And he kind of like rambled his way through an explanation, and she said, this is the problem with you effing salesman. You don't know what you're selling, and then she slammed the door in his face. It's like before I even hit the doors, I have these preemptive like horror stories, but. I went out there the first day and I knocked like 12 doors, and got a couple doors slammed in my face, but like. Got adjusted to the temperature or whatever, and then after the first week, I could see like the skills developing slowly, like becoming a more effective salesman because we would do a lot of drilling in the morning, and he would like go through the script and everything. But then like I got my first sale in the second week or whatever, and started like getting more and more sales or whatever, and then. About week 3 came around, and I had a bit of a dry spell where I hadn't got a sale for about a week.
Yeah.
And he brought me into his office. And he was like saying that I got to pick it up or whatever because we can't have people coming in late and seeing that no one has any sales. I think it's like impossible to get a sale.
Right.
And so then eventually after that week, still didn't get any sales. They brought in the CEO of the company, and then he was working with us one-on-one, trying to get us some sales and stuff. Still didn't work. And then so he told me the week after that if I can't get a sale by Sunday, he told me this on Tuesday, then I'm going to get fired.
Oh, dear.
And so I went out there and I knocked a bunch of doors. I was getting my ass handed to me. Sorry, I broke the swear word rule, but I had my ass handed to me on the doors. And I was knocking 60, 70 doors a day. I just couldn't get a sale. And the last day I was out there, I texted my old basketball coach, Brad Matsugu, and I was like, I don't think I can do this, man. Like, I'm just losing it out here. And he goes, just give it one more door. So I was in this really nice neighborhood. There was maybe like 5 houses. They're each like $2 million a piece. And I went up and knocked the first door, and I kind of like zoned out on the doorstep, and he had that thing, like an open window sort of thing where you could like see and talk through it. And I saw him walking up, and he just like automatically angry right away, the 65-year-old dude. And I kind of like zoned back in, and I gave him the spiel, and he just cussed me out and started like screaming at me. I started like dodging F-bombs.
Oh, no.
I got off the porch, and I texted Brad, and I said, I think I'm done for the day. And then I went in Sunday, and he told me, yeah, it's pretty much wraps. And
It's not just you though.
Oh yeah, I should preemptively say that in
Yeah.
the first month that I was there, we had 12 people that were supposed to be selling. 5 of them quit, and then the other 6 ended up getting fired as well.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you believe in your product?
That became readily apparent throughout the process of selling that I did not.
So that's one of the things I think when it comes to sales, right? So I was telling you when I was in recruiting, I was always so proud because we were working with Fortune 500 companies. I was always so proud of the companies that I was representing and the fact that I was helping these people come out of the military into their civilian careers. And the other thing that my first boss in that environment told me is, Nancy, sell the sizzle. So I had to know, what are the highlights, right? Highlights of the location, highlights of the company, highlights of the job, highlights of the benefits, highlights of, all of that. And I always knew that stuff. So that always helped a lot when I was trying to, but I also, again, I believed very much in what I was doing. And I don't think you can be a salesperson in a field that you can't really get behind.
Yeah, I noticed that too because we went
You
to.
went over there and you didn't even know what you were selling.
You've said this before, like you think if I was selling protein powder or something that I actually enjoy
Yeah,
and
you'd
use
be
myself,
very
that'd
successful.
probably very good.
But he was selling pest control.
But here's the thing,
Right.
though, right? Is like I was talking to Christian one day, and I was asking him like, why? Because I would go knock with him, and he's a 10-year sales rep. He averages like 500 sales a summer, and you would see like 1 in 4 people would buy from him. And the way he would say things, and I would try and pick up on it and do whatever. I was like, why are people not buying from me? And I said to him, like, is this because I don't believe in the product or I don't know the product? And he's like, dude, I don't care about pest control at all. I just want to make some money. And then he would go and knock the door and sell somebody. And like I also talked to some other sales reps because we went to a company party in Iowa, and I was talking to them and trying to figure out, because these were like first year sales reps and they were killing it. They're getting 20, 30 sales, and probably they're going to finish like 200 in the summer.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of like psychopathy, I want to say, where they just don't see the person. All they think is, I need to get a sale, I need to get a sale. And they just repeat the sales process so viciously in front of this person that eventually they just crack and buy.
Mm-hmm. So that goes along with my boss in recruiting, my second boss in recruiting, and I worked for the same company the whole entire time, but the person who hired me sold the company to their daughter. And when the daughter and son-in-law took over the business, they were they were so money oriented, which granted, I was on 100% commission. It's a recruiting firm. That's what I should be. But I'm about the people, right? So my boss did not love that I wasn't affected when he would say, okay, well, if you make this much this month, you'll get a $3,000 bonus. Well, I would get there not because I was looking for the $3,000 extra, but just because I really, truly believed and loved what I was doing. Same thing here. Like I say in class all the time, my job, granted, are there some days I don't want to get out of bed? Of course there are. And if somebody gives me $1 billion, am I going to do this full time? Maybe not. But I still would probably come teach career development because I do really love it. But I don't mind coming here every day. And I'm always like in my fishbowl, all know with my glass windows, it's amazing who shows up in my office every day. And the fact that the students know that I'm really there and available. So.
Yeah. On top of that, what you just said there, something I picked up on. I realized as I was talking to Brad, my old basketball coach, that I wasn't really motivated by money. And that's definitely something I'm going to have to think about for the future of my career. Because I've had many, many jobs, and the paycheck really has never been the thing that's either allowed me to stay in the job or kept me going.
Yeah. So when you spoke to Dimitri, right? So that's the other thing too. He probably told you, the whole thing with Pratt and Whitney and then going on to other fields and stuff. Yeah. So I think that there's two sides. I think that for me, I'm lucky. In the career I've chosen and am involved in, I really get all of my enthusiasm every day being here. There are a lot of people also, though, you can find a job that you're like, okay, I do this job to make the money to support my passion, right? So if you say I also want to be a coach, or I also want to do this, or I don't know, I want to be a bird watcher, right? And I want to buy those binoculars that cost $1 million. Whatever it might be, if you can find either the passion in the position or in the idea of this is why I'm doing this to get to this, that helps.
I've been listening to, do you know who Rick Rubin is?
Yes.
He's big on not necessarily merging passion with finance, because he talks about it in the sense of being a stand-up comic, where if you're a stand-up comic on the weekends and you work a 9 to 5, your sole purpose for doing comedy is to make the best comedy possible.
Right.
But if you make it your job, now all of a sudden your job becomes making people come to the theater, the most amount of people that can get into the show and listen to me talk, which isn't necessarily the best way to do comedy. So it actually hurts the art form by doing it for money. And that's something I've resonated with the podcast too, because if we come in here, we had this realization not that long ago where we realized if we come in here and we think every time someone says something, what's the best way to get more people to listen to what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's not the same as how can we have the best conversation possible. It's two very different ways of running a podcast.
And that's also because you really enjoy doing this, right? So you'll end up getting more people listening because your enthusiasm is going to come through. And that's the same thing. So for me, with this position, I'm going to go back to Amanda Garcia again. I mean, this is a woman who loves accounting.
Yeah, we're going to get her on the she's super passionate. We're going to get her on the podcast.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea because, I think about, I said to her one day that I was looking for a new washing machine because my washing machine had broke. The next day, she came in with an Excel spreadsheet of all the washing machines and the costs and everything. And then a couple years later, when I was getting rid of one 4Runner and buying another one, next day, in she comes with the spreadsheets and everything like that and tells me why this is a good value, why that's not a good value, I'm like, this is amazing, and this is what I need in my life because I couldn't do that. But she loves it. So
yeah, she also, she has, I think, 2 master's degrees, a CPA and a CFP. She sent an email yesterday. Yeah. We had an exam this morning. Yep. So she sent an email yesterday with some answers to some stuff that she posted previously to help us prepare to the exam review or whatever. And at the end, I scrolled all the way down and it's Manny Garcia, CPA, CFP, which are two. It's very hard to get both of those things.
And real estate agent, by the way.
And real estate
I
agent.
have seen her in, because she brought in, I'm going to butcher his name. Is it Jeremy?
Jeremy Casey.
Jeremy Casey. He brought, for that, I don't know what it was, but it was the first year I was here. She brought him in, and then I saw her downstairs either teaching a real estate class or something where they're breaking down the value of the rent and all that stuff. And I was somewhat interested in that in high school, and it kind of blew my mind that someone was actually teaching that in college.
Yes. Yeah.
She knows a lot about a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You're right. That's why we're a dynamic duo.
One of the things I'm curious about, when you were in recruiting,
yes,
and you were trying to figure out whether someone was going to be a fit for the company, what sort of things and characteristics are you, like what boxes are you checking before you allow someone to enter the company and be part of a team?
Okay, so on the very basic, because I was working with all mechanical, electrical, and electronic type positions, so whether it was technology like Intel or Samsung, or it was a nuclear power plant, they had to have some baseline technical knowledge. And I had some tests for that and stuff like that. And just a side note, one of my favorite things of all is that I am not electrical, electronic, or mechanical. We had an electronic exam that we gave to every electronic technician that walked in our office. And the first question on the exam, every single one of them would get wrong. And they would argue with us about the fact that, no, we're wrong. So finally, what I did was I had somebody explain it to me why it was the correct answer. And then every time they'd argue, I'd be like, no, you see, it's because of this, this, and this. So then what happened is they all thought I was technical, but I was not.
Do you remember the question?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But anyway, what was I supposed to be talking about?
The boxes and the things, the characteristics you're looking for when you're recruiting.
So they'd have to go through the technical stuff. And then the next part was, how do I help them communicate about themselves? Just like we talked about in career development class too, right? I mean, because in recruiting, I would like basically rework their resume for them, right? So it was about, how are you going to talk about it? Why is this position match your skills and your abilities? Why would you enjoy if it's a field service engineer position? Or why is a 12-hour rotating shift schedule at Bridgestone in South Carolina going to be okay with you? All of those types of things. And that went along with making sure that the person knew about the company. And so then they could get their enthusiasm up because they were excited about the opportunity. I also see that glass door over there. So if somebody was talking to me and they were very meek and quiet, I would literally go outside the door, close it, and ask them questions through the door and make them speak up.
It's kind of funny.
I would have to, because I'm like, listen, you're going to be sitting in front of people that are either also ex-military or they're really high up in their organization, and you got to show them why they want you to represent them. Mm-hmm. So it was a lot of that. We did have, we would do mock interviews with the other recruiters too. And we would usually, so once I was there for a few years, I ended up running all the training for new people coming in. And so with a lot of the companies that came in, I would kind of be the overseer, and they would have to second interview with me before they went in front of the company.
Wow.
What about personality traits of people that you had conversations with that you that person is going to be successful? What type of personality traits or characteristics?
Yeah.
Or telling signs,
Well, I'm going to use the recruiting as the example. When I was doing training, so I didn't hire the people. My boss hired the people and then would give them to me, and I would train them. In the first 3 days, I knew whether they were going to be successful or not, because if you're in a commission-based position, I knew that you had to be highly motivated to basically be building the plane as you're flying it, right? So even though I'm giving you the basics and I'm like, here's the manual for this, here's the manual for that, the person who would say to me can I get on the phone? Can I get on the phone? Can I make a call? I was like, that's the person who's going to be successful. That's because they were not afraid of the phone. Whereas I'd have other people who'd come in and they'd be like, well, can I read that again? Can I read this again? I'm like, oh, no, this is not going to work.
They weren't action-oriented.
Yeah, you have to really be action-oriented, especially in a commission-based job.
Definitely.
Because if you sit there and do nothing, nothing happens.
You don't have to tell me twice. I was in sales this summer. That was
right.
If you don't go and
nothing
get reps,
was happening.
Right. Well, we had a document, if you made 50 phone calls a day, you could expect that you might get one candidate interview out of that. And then from that one candidate interview, so if you got 5 anyway, there was a whole process to it.
No, it's definitely been a theme in my life. If you break down the reps of what it takes to actually be great, it's a lot more work than you think, and it's just 100% action oriented. Especially in like basketball, you got to shoot a shot 1,000 times before you can hit it in game. Like it just needs to happen over and over and over again before it becomes second nature.
Yeah.
I had something I was going to add, but I completely forgot.
Well, I was going to go into like the team aspect of like, because you're around athletics a lot.
I am.
And so you must see the parallels between a good team in the office and in business, and also the same characteristics in sports. And I'm wondering if you've drawn any parallels there.
You mean in terms of like the people that I work with in a team versus athletics in a team?
I mean, what creates a successful team? Like, what are the traits of a successful team in business and in athletics?
Right. So when you were in my class, did we do the Myers-Briggs type indicator, the personality assessment? So I think the biggest thing with a team working well together is recognizing who you've got. Right? So that does take the leadership model of who is with you and how are you communicating with them? Because just like on a team, there might be somebody who does a lot better if you like really are like hard on them and are, like, let's go. And there's others that they need to hear what they've done well for the day, and that's going to make them better tomorrow. So same thing with any of the teams that we work with. And also, this is something that I had to learn a lot about because I'm just old enough that I have straddled 2 worlds of the type of leadership models. And what I mean by that is teams many years ago, sports and working world, it was just yell at the person until they do it, right? Or be the boss, right? Be the boss. Do what I say, shut up, go do it.
It was more like dictatorship. And a lot less like teamwork.
And that did work for a period of time, but now we're much more evolved in how we communicate with each other. So now for me with the team, it's do I know who I have in front of me? And like for an example up here, we laugh all the time because I am the only extrovert on my team.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who else is on the team.
Right, so Jay is on the team.
Definitely not an extrovert.
What?
Not an extrovert.
Right, so Tom, student accommodations, Regina, and Tina, they're all introverts.
Who's the...
Washkevitz? Tom Washkevitz?
No. Tom is our student accommodations
Who's
director.
Washkevitz is definitely
blonde
extroverted.
lady? Who does the first year?
So that's Jenny Granger. She actually...
She's definitely an extrovert. I didn't know if she worked up here, though.
So she is not... like in, I don't want to say under, but like she's not in specifically the CSS team. We work collaboratively together like this. Her office is up here on this floor. But yeah, so when the 2 of us sit next to each other, because she does come to all of our team meetings, it's kind of annoying to the rest of the people because we're like, anyway. So I really had to learn that. The other thing about my introverted friends that I have here on this floor, they also are people who like information very early. Now, Chris, you might remember one of the things we did with MBTI was I gave everybody a project and said, when would you start day 1 through day 30?
Yeah.
Chris would be day 29.5.
Yeah, I said that.
Did you say 29? Yeah, okay. So I'm with you. I'm 29.5 also. My team is day 1.
So
You are
I'm
day
day
one.
1.
Right. So that's a really hard lesson to learn because it makes people so upset when you tell them last minute something that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I have worked really, really hard not to do that to them. Every once in a while I still do, but most of the time I don't.
No, Chris is definitely
Oh, I love the last minute. I love the chaos.
loves the
Throw
last
something
minute.
at me. Let me figure it out in 20 minutes.
even if he has the
roll.
time to do it, he'll actively
Right.
like
Because I
he
can't
wants to
move.
do it.
There
in the
has
last
to be
minute.
so much
No, you're
backward
pressure
pressure.
prompted.
Yes, there has to be so much pressure.
Right. You do your best work in pressure prompted situations.
Yeah.
And I definitely do that also and drive a ton of people crazy. Like I said, my whole team. So Max, when you join my team, what you're going to find is that I've gotten much better at it and you will get things at least a couple weeks ahead of time.
I feel like I am also like pressure. Like I do better work when it's the last minute, but I don't like. I enjoy like I wouldn't say I enjoy schoolwork, but like I don't hate it. I'm not dreading it.
Yeah.
And so I don't like to leave it to the last minute because I feel like it takes kind of like the enjoyment out of it, and it just puts me more like the quality of work is probably still good.
Yeah.
But it's just a lot more stress and anxiety than I needed, and I could rather go without it.
Right. No,
But Chris, probably doesn't produce very good work if it's.
Well, that's crazy.
You think you would do good work if it was a month in advance? You would probably
I
do
don't
3
think so.
sentences and then move.
I don't think so. I just don't think I could make good decisions if it isn't with like this backwards pressure. Like it needs to happen with this. It has to happen. Like my entire life, that's how it's been. Like
Did you end up recording a podcast with?
No, and that's the thing though, right? Is like it took. There had to be so much like this could genuinely be like life threatening for me not to go do it. Like there has to be so much stuff
Who was
in
it
the
with?
way.
It was supposed to be with
Dustin and Braden, but like there was a Category 12 snowstorm going on. I had no snow tires on my car. I was not about to drive 30 minutes for a podcast to potentially slip and die. So like there's levels to it. But yeah, no, I definitely work better in pressure situations too. Like I can type like 100 words a minute, and so like I just speed, I just speed run it.
We've never verified that. I feel like he said that before. We don't know if that's valid.
We don't know if he's spelling the words correctly.
we
He
don't
might be
know
just
it.
typing
I think
letters
it might- it might
on
be
You see me
letters.
type? Like I type like really fast.
I mean,
I've had
I
like
don't really
several people walk up to me and see me type and be like, "You hurt."
Did you take a typing class in high school?
No, but I used to play Minecraft a lot, and you have to be really fast with the keys.
And is it like set up like so? Yeah. So
You want to take Minecraft class next year? It's an art
Put me on
elective.
the spot. I don't know.
Do you have art credit?
Yeah,
What is it?
graphic design.
You might not be able to take Minecraft class.
It's run by Gusto.
He might
Maybe
maneuver for you. That's a class I want to take before I graduate.
Minecraft. You gonna say something?
I was just. I want to go back to athletics for 1 second because I want to say that when I first started working at Elms, I made it a priority to go meet the athletic director and basically say I want to be connected to all these teams, and that was when I was career services director. And at that time, our AD was Louise McCleary, who's the head of Division III NCAA.
Okay.
And what?
She's now the head.
Now, yeah.
She's like the head of Division III NCAA.
Well, she's like one of the top dogs. Yes.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
did not know that.
Yeah. She was here for like 13 years.
Really?
So I unfortunately only got a chance to work with her for about a year and a half. But in that year and a half, she was the one who also set me up here with athletics, and in our team meetings when I was in student affairs, I'd be sitting there, and for a long time, like I would be quiet when I first started working here. I didn't want to like upset anybody's apple cart. She pulled me aside, and she was the one who said, she's like, "Nancy, we have a lot of people that know how to fly planes. Be somebody who can land the plane." And she's like, "Stop thinking about whatever you're thinking about in those meetings and start speaking up." And that was a really, really
That's a
helpful
very
thing to
good
me.
line. That's a very, very good line. I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, and that's a line I use all the time, thanks to her.
Are you somebody who can land the plane, Max?
Working on it.
Yes, yes.
I was gonna say something. Go ahead.
Actually, before we move on from the athletic team kind of conversation, what's the best team that you've seen at Elms? And then I'm assuming that you've known some people on the team, and what were some, I guess, like characteristics again that
I mean, like business team, athletic team.
athletic team. What's the best athletic team?
See, now you're going to get me in trouble.
Why?
Well, because let me go this way. When I first came to Elms, the men's basketball team,
Was that when
Very good.
Juan was here? Maladondo?
yes, and like there was a number of years. So I just had somebody come visit our class, David McDaniel. He actually zoomed in because he's down in South Carolina, and he was talking about, when they went into the all the tournaments and stuff like that. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about it, all of that. So
the men's basketball team from when you first got here, what was something that made them that level of competitiveness, that level of success?
well, actually, I think so. I'm just going to say a generic statement about all athletics right now, because one of the things that I think I would like all athletes to really recognize is the more you work together and not worry about your individual dunks or whatever or scores, you're all going to do better.
100%.
Because I have heard over the years from different teams across the board when there's those moments where like, well, this person's selfish in their play, or, we're not really getting along, or, we're having this little argument over here. I'm like, well, that's not a team that's going to come together. And there has been times too when I've been at games and I could see when different things,
definitely.
like over the years, I mean, our men's basketball team, we've had a really good team. Our women's basketball team, our women's
Coach Parks?
soccer team.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course, yes. But like our women's soccer team, our men's soccer team, I mean, like our baseball team a couple of years ago, I mean, out of the playoffs at JWU, I'm like, yeah, this is a good team. And then the other thing is, even last year, like having this brand new men's lacrosse team, they
were good.
They were good, right? So I think that's one of the things I like about Elms. Typically, we have a bunch of students here that are generally nice to each other.
Sure.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Generally. I know that listen, again, I hear everything, so I know too much. Actually, coaches tell me, don't tell me, because I know too much. And that can lead us to much more positive spaces. And I think there's still really a lot of opportunity for our athletic programs to continue to be good and better.
So you think like selflessness and putting team for yourself is, I think that's also a really big thing. Like in practice or 2 days ago, coach, like he said, I don't want any answers. No, you have to raise your hand. But like, how many people would be genuinely happy if they scored 0 points, didn't play a second, and we won the game? Like, who would be happy? And then we started practice.
And if you really wanted me to, that is something that I've been, as a ex-college basketball player, that's like just watching the game now. Something that fascinates me is like good teams and why they're good.
Yes.
And we were watching him play Trinity. And I watched the West Con.
They're
game,
number 5 in the country.
And I watched the Westfield team that they played last night. And there's just this different energy with the really good teams. Like Trinity is a perennially great program.
Yeah.
And you can just watch the body language of everybody on the bench and on the floor versus like, it's not even when they're winning or they're losing. It's like they just want to get a perfect rep every single time on the floor. They want to run the offense perfectly. They want to do exactly what coach wants perfectly every single time.
Yes.
And I don't, if I was to go into coaching, I would have no idea how to get everybody on the same page, but I know that is critically important to winning as a program. Because like if everyone's not bought in, it's almost impossible to turn somebody from like, oh, I'm kind of just going through motions and practice and doing all this stuff to like a diehard diving on the loose balls, screaming on the bench. Like I don't think you can change a person that much with coaching. I think it's almost like a picking out of the pile type of thing.
I would say that it's nice when you find that you have people that is inborn. Mm-hmm. I do think that the right type of leadership can make that happen for people. And or when you have a team of people, so if Max has his 2 best friends that he counts on and trusts with everything on that team with him, that can be very helpful too.
For sure.
In making something go smoother. Because you know, when you can think, like maybe you guys have started to do this with doing this podcast work, because I'm listening to how you communicate back and forth and how like one starts and the other one's so
we're doing this a long time.
Right, which I think is really good, right? But that's something that you learned how to do. You learned your flow. Same thing if you know how so and so plays on the basketball court, same thing happens.
Yeah.
Is there an example you can think of in your career, maybe not even sports related, where you saw somebody who wasn't bought into the message or the values of the team, and then a certain leader managed to turn that around for them and get them bought in?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to recruiting again. And to be quite honest, I'm going to use myself with one of the people that I trained. And it was one of those ones where actually this was the one time when I thought that they weren't going to make it, but it was one of our women recruiters, and we didn't have a lot of women recruiters because when I first started in that business, I was the only woman recruiter in the group except for the owner of the company. So this young woman, it was like that day in, day out, like watching other people's success and being able to, when I would hear her on the phone and a good call would happen, saying something to her right away and letting her know like, oh, that was a great call. Like you did, and showing her these are the things that went really well and building her understanding that like we were there to help. We weren't there to like criticize. And so with her, that was why it ultimately was able to build up. And I think that's the other thing too, but that has to do with personalities. Because if I know that that's going to be what helps you, then it works.
I think another reason like why me and Chris's or Chris and I's dynamic is strong on the podcast. Like we were talking about before, is like if I have a good point or I ask a good question, like I'm not sitting back and like, yes, I just asked a good question. Or if one of my clips goes viral on social media, I'm not happy that my clip went viral. It's our clip that went viral. Like Chris has a TikTok that has 1.4 million views, and I'll present that like it's my TikTok, even though I only say like 2 words in the video. It's because it's our product,
Yeah, that's
and I
great.
think that's
That's
something
great.
that allows us to like I just want to ask a good question so that we can produce good content together. I'm
Yes.
sure Chris thinks the same way. It doesn't
Yes.
matter who asks what question. It doesn't matter who is more vocally dominant within the episode. It just matters that we both are putting out something together. And I think that's something that is like strong within the good teams. It's like we were saying at Trinity. Like they didn't care who scores, who scores how many, as long as they won the game. As long as they played the game the right way and they won the game.
Have you both had to use a SWOT analysis for any of your classes?
Yeah.
I think so, but
Yeah.
I'm not.
So like the
100% sure.
strengths. So when you look at people that you're around, and as you get out into your careers, one of the things that's deadly is when there's somebody with that negativity, right? That can take down a whole team, a whole business, a whole lot of things, right? And that's something to always be conscious of. And those are the people that you don't want to buy into and you don't want to like connect to, because sometimes leadership may not see it, but you can see it. And that's something too over my career I've been able to see. And I worked for the American Institute of Foreign Study at one point in time, and I had a boss there who he was totally an egomaniac, and he had no regard for people's time, right? So like during season, we had to work 6 days a week. And Saturday afternoon at 5:00, like we were toast, right? And when it's like 5:05 and you're like, okay, I'm finally getting out of here. And he comes out of his office like, hey, can you come in here and do it? Was like, you want to talk about making people feel miserable and burning them out like hardcore? Don't do that. One of the things we've taken on here at Elms, many of us, is recognizing like when we're sending out emails and stuff like that, we can do scheduled emails. So it's like the next day, because even if I'm doing something at 11 o'clock at night, I don't need to make people feel awkward that I'm doing something and they should respond to me. So, anyway, that kind of leading down that path. You just have to watch out for the danger spots.
So do you think that those danger spots can be fixed or they have to be just removed? Because like that egomaniac, is that a person that you can like teach to lead in a different way, or is that someone you just have to cut out of your business and team entirely? Because I've watched it happen with a lot of basketball teams too, where, and I'm not going to name any of them, but there's certain individuals who, if I was the coach, the best bet would be to just cut the cancer out. And I've seen it happen where they cut it out and the teams start getting really, really good.
Yep.
And so like I personally don't know exactly what the method I would go for is. It probably would be case by case.
I can give an example. So at Coach Pish's previous school, Elmira, we played, and he talks about this story a bunch. He actually talked about it on the Zoom interview. And so Chris and I played against that team when we were at Madai, funny enough. But they had like a kid who was like rookie of the year in the conference, averaging like 25 points a game. And he's like phenomenal. He's like stud athlete. And the second time we played them, and they were not good. And the second time we played them, this was after they had removed him because they thought that he was a cancer to the team. And they beat us. They were way less talented, without their by far their best player, but they beat us and they ended up doing a lot better just because it was like coach says like 5 guys working as one, and it's so much more powerful. So I think you should just remove the cancers, but I think it's hard to change some, especially at this maybe at previous stages. But I mean, we're grown men.
Right, but that cancerous person could be not cancerous someplace else because they're happier.
That's
right.
fair.
So that's the other part of it.
That's fair.
Because when you look at, right now, I haven't seen the men's basketball team play this year yet.
Yeah,
I remember
one game at home.
Right. Yes, because you don't have another game home until after the
Saturday.
Next week.
Saturday.
This Saturday.
Saturday. But you're not coming. I'm not going to make you come back on a Saturday.
No, I'm actually.
And then Tuesday, don't you?
And then Tuesday,
And
the week following Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday I could definitely do that because Saturday I'm going to Worcester to see the Van Gogh immersion thing.
I don't know what that is,
Me
but it
neither,
sounds
but
great.
I know Van Gogh's artist, but
Yeah. Well, so what they do is like they have the paintings up on the wall. It's the whole room is the painting.
that's kind of
And
crazy.
they also
16th
have
Chapel.
Yeah, and they also have the virtual reality so that you can walk through one of the paintings,
That's dope.
right?
Are you into art?
Not really. But I'm excited to go do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, going back to the
Yeah, sorry.
no worries.
We lost our point.
The negativity. Do you think
Yeah.
it's better to cut it out or to maybe foster it and maybe actually use that negativity in some kind of way to make the team better?
I think that you can foster to a point, but I do appreciate that even in job interviews, and I said this in career development class too, I would rather hire somebody who I felt like I liked and could work with really well and was amenable to learning than somebody who walked in and told me like that they knew everything and that they were never going to have flexibility to learn, grow, and develop, and then they were going to put other people down. So I would rather have somebody who was not as good of a basketball player, was a good basketball player, but maybe wasn't as great as that person, but brought a positive attitude to the team.
Yeah. Coach says he'd rather have there's this chart, and it's on the y-axis it's trust, on the x-axis it's performance.
Yeah.
And you'd rather have a guy that's in the middle trust, or in the middle performance and high trust,
Yes.
as opposed to
That's
high
SWOT.
performance and low trust.
Yeah, that's what.
It also kind of parallels to sales. Like I've heard this so many times when I was selling stuff, but people buy from people they like.
Yes.
Which seems to be a reoccurring theme. But I don't know where I was going to go from there.
Well, so that goes along, and again, we really are sticking with this whole personality thing, but selfishly, I can convince 95% of the people to do what I want them to do 95% of the time, right? Because ultimately, they know me, they like me, they trust me, and that's how come it works out that way. But if I have made them not trust me, why would you do something that I wanted you to do? Or like the networking part, because we were going to talk a little bit more about networking. I communicate with the people that I'm connected to, not just once a year when I want them to come to my class, right? I mean, Darius and I, we talk every other week, right? Jeremy Casey, I talk to him at least once a month, right? So there's like all these people that, just you have to make that effort.
Has to be genuine. If someone gets
Yes.
a feeling that you're just only calling on them when you need them, they're going to be a lot less likely to show up for you than if they
Exactly.
know that you have a genuine relationship as human beings.
Yeah. Yeah.
You brought up networking, and I completely forgot I was going to ask about that. We're going to dive into that now. What role has networking played in your life, and how do you try and instill that in other people, like the valuableness of networking that you've seen in your life to other people?
And talk about how the school helps, because there's a lot of ways that the school helps network, the students network as well.
I mean, the first couple roles that I had out of college were because of my family's network, and people that they knew said, hey, Nancy should come in and look at this job. So then moving into doing everything that I do here, and same thing in recruiting too. So I had to call military bases, and I was in Norfolk, Virginia. So I was near the largest naval base in the world, right? So I called the ships. I called the departments on the ships and talked to the people there. So I wanted to build relationships with like the chiefs and all the E4s, E5s, E6s. So they would tell me when the people on their teams were leaving. And then anyway, so that was like the whole continuing those relationships, connecting with them, making sure to call back like, hey, I remember it's your birthday, whatever. And then here, for Elms, I mean, we try and do the networking events, bring alumni back so that they can meet with all of you because they all work at great companies. So that's an opportunity. We also get involved with the chambers in the area. We also get involved with the Young Professional Society, which if you are a senior and you're going to stay anywhere in this region, the YPS group is really amazing because what they do is they get together and they help each other make other connections. So, and then just because of the fact that you all really have access to your faculty and really have access to anybody on campus. Like if you say to me tomorrow, hey, Nancy, I want to meet Dr. Dumais today and have a conversation with him, I could pretty much make that happen as long as he's on campus, right? Like we're all accessible, which is great.
I will say it does feel very accessible. Have you been at schools where it wasn't very accessible?
I just know people that work at like the larger institutions. So, I mean, I'll use UMass. UMass is an amazing school, but it's not that easy to be like in front of your faculty when there's 300 people in the class. I don't know if any of you were here when Sarah Smirowski was here as one of our accounting professors, but she went off and she's teaching at UMass, and she has like 5 TAs for her accounting class because she's got like 400 students in the class.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know? So how many of those students does she actually really know? I would much rather, for me personally, because I like, this is what this place is. You said people person. I like being known, and I like people knowing that I'm accessible.
Got anything extra?
Would you rather be
Oh,
rich and unknown, or known and I'm not gonna say poor, but like just average and just chilling, but like very popular?
Rich and unknown. It's not even close.
Me too, but
You're rich and unknown?
For
Rich
sure.
and
It's not
unknown
even
as well.
close.
See, what was your letters in MBTI? Do you remember?
Int J, I think. I was an architect, I believe.
Okay.
also we'll say $2 million a year and unknown, other than like the small group, like even the people you went to high school with don't even really, only a select few people even know your
I wouldn't
whereabouts.
be happy. I wouldn't
Or
be happy.
like you have over 1 million followers on Instagram, and like you're
know if
like
she would care about that.
but like people are very aware, and like people you walk by on the street like know who you are, and then obviously you have a big network of people who you've grown up with or people who you came cross paths with in life, and let's just say you're making $70K a year
Okay.
versus 2 million
Okay.
a year.
So a super livable salary
Yeah,
to
no,
be extremely
really-
famous or have an ungodly amount of money or
and-
be anonymous.
Pretty much anonymous, yeah.
I'm taking the money and
Me
I'm
too.
running away to the desert or
Me too.
something. I'm out of there, dude. I can't even imagine a world where I'd take the other one. I just couldn't see
Me
that
too.
happening. It would be so exhausting to be famous.
Well, I don't want to be famous.
Well, that's what that is.
Not really, you're not famous, but like you're well known.
Well, see, I'd have to go that direction.
But she also said she's not motivated by money. Like she's not super
There's
motivated
a
by money.
difference between an extrovert and an introvert because I think that second option sounds
But
like
you said
hell.
you're also not motivated by money either, so maybe you're a
I'm
little
not, but I'm
contradicting
motivated
right now.
I'm motivated by freedom.
That's fair.
$2 million a year is freedom. I can do whatever I want.
That is true, but that's why I'm always like applying for the HGTV house, you know, to see if I can win it and sell it.
So why would you choose the people being famous-ish?
Because that's what makes me happy. Like just knowing,
Just like connections and
yeah. I mean, I
networking
do.
and-
I have a really great group of friends, and I have lived New York, Maryland, Virginia, and here. And I always say I've been so fortunate wherever I've lived. The group of friends that I've built, it's like so. I need that to be happy,
That's fair.
right?
See, that just the famous part of it is like, I'm assuming this would sound very not happy for you, but if like I could be in a cabin by myself with like a camera and a basketball and some weights, I'm cool and I don't have to talk to a person for a long time. But I'm assuming that would be very detrimental to you.
Oh yeah, I'd be talking to people. I'd be talking to myself. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Chris says that, so one of the things he said, not motivated by money, but he's motivated by freedom. And the first thing I think about freedom is like traveling and stuff. Have you traveled to anywhere cool?
I got to travel to England and Holland when I was
Is
working.
that where you recruited Steve and Jonas from?
No, but you know, the funny thing is about the Dutch guys is that I loved having them here because it made me think about my trips to Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Love that place. Love that place. Love all the people.
We miss them.
I know. I miss them too. I do keep up with Seb on WhatsApp. So
Really?
I
Yeah.
keep up with Seb and Jonas occasionally.
Yeah.
Jonas will occasionally make fun of me for being small and skinny. And
Steve sent me a photo with glue. His hair basically all glued down, and he said that he's pledging some fraternity in Netherlands, and he said that it's
I'm pretty
awesome.
sure Jonas insulted me in whatever
Dutch?
last night, but I couldn't read it, so I don't really know what it was. But how we keep in touch with
We
him.
actually, somebody on WestCon, like Western Connecticut's
Yeah.
basketball team, looks exactly like Jonas.
Really,
Exactly like Jonas, which is
With
a
the
little bit
red hair.
taller.
Yeah, it's,
Oh,
Yeah.
It's pretty like spot on.
that's
And so I
awesome.
think it's kind of funny. We just played them as well. So
Yeah. No, that's I really enjoyed doing that. And then I've been to Puerto Rico a number of times, which I love Puerto Rico. So that's you know, another
So-
good place for me.
I had just left Canada for the first time 2 years ago, so I've never been anywhere fun.
Well, here's the other thing too. So
Chris lives on a farm.
that's cool.
She knows this, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, not
mean,
a lot of people know it. I like to say it. Sometimes it catches people off guard.
But that's the other thing too. When I was young, I didn't go on my first plane flight until I was a sophomore in college.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah. And that was when my aunt and uncle took me for my high school graduation present 2 years later to the Bahamas.
Awesome.
Where'd you stay in the Bahamas?
And what's outside of
Atlantis?
Nassau? Yeah.
Atlantis.
Yes, but it was, remember how old I am, so it was not like it is now.
Okay.
It was nice, but it's not like
I've stayed there
it is
before.
now.
It's pretty cool
Yeah.
over there.
You said you built that group of friends, and I picked up on that word, the word built. Did you specifically cultivate the type of people you wanted to be around?
Yes, because there's a lot of people that I choose not to be around.
So it's a conscious effort to make sure you're around good people.
Yes, absolutely. The people that build me up, you have also heard this before, but Max, you haven't. So one of my favorite quotes in the whole world is, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." Right? You remember that one. And that's the thing. When I look around and I say, oh, yes, my friend Erin, she runs the rehab facility for Bay State. She's an OT. And she's a mom with 2 kids and that are grown and actually are both in Copenhagen right now for their time away at college. And she's just a powerful, positive person who is there for me. I'm there for her. My other friend Chrissy, she works for Pfizer. Just so intelligent. The other thing too is I wrap myself in intelligent people. Like I am.
You're very
I don't know if I should
intelligent.
I don't know if I should say this or not, but I'm going to say it anyway. So like I always say, sitting in the office that I'm in as I talk to students that are struggling or maybe like not doing as well as they could be doing, I was not a great college student. I loved college, okay? But I know what that is, and I know what my strengths are. So when I'm around certain people that are very like intelligent in other ways, like scientifically or something, it blows my mind. But it's like talking to Amanda about accounting. Like if I could actually go back to school right now, I would like to do the undergraduate accounting program because I'll be, gosh darned, I want to be
tough.
good. I want to be good at it, and I'm not.
It's tough.
But anyway.
Yeah, I took beginner accounting, and I'm good on that.
Yeah.
I'm chilling, especially
Yeah.
since the way Daniel talks about accidentally dropping into the advanced accounting class.
Oh yeah,
Oops.
so Daniel was accidentally in our tax class.
Not registering for classes on time.
No, I think he
Oops.
registered for class on time.
No, he wasn't. That's why he got dropped into the accounting class.
Oh, that was last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, he probably registered. Was the first person to register because that class is very tough, and if you're not like super serious on like
Yeah.
understanding what's going on, then you're going to be left very behind, and it is very stressful, especially at 8 to go at 8
8
a.m.
a.m., yeah.
and just to be. I remember the first couple classes, I would just wake up like 7:45. My eyes would be even. They're already half closed, walking around on a daily basis, and so they would be a quarter open, and then just getting my ass handed to me by trying to do somebody's taxes, and I clicked the wrong button, and now I'm $150,000 over,
Oops.
and it's like, oh my god,
Yeah.
it was brutal.
Yeah.
But I've got a decent grasp on it. Hopefully, I did well on the exam today.
Yeah. I think the other thing, too, when it comes to friends is that the older you get, the less patience you have for the BS. I won't say the other words, right? I just don't have the space in my life anymore. And, that's good because then I keep myself happy because I don't have those people around me.
Chris, who would you say the 5 people you spend the most time around are with?
Yes.
Or talk to, I guess, because, a lot of people are at home.
The most time around, Alex Hormozy.
Okay, stop.
No, actually, probably right now, you, Ben, Sam, Chubbs, and
People from home.
yeah, a few people from home. So like it's literally here. It's like you and Ben. That's literally it.
Me, Ben, Sam, Chubbs, and
I'll throw out like I'm definitely forgetting somebody, and this
Dak.
is probably bad. Yeah, probably Dak actually. But like I'm very protective of who I decide to spend time with. Like I would much rather be alone than with a negative person.
I think the people I spend the most time around are probably Andrew, you, Ben, my friend Zach from home, my friend Benjo
Alex,
from home.
with Alex, your
Oh,
wife,
my girlfriend.
your wife.
But I thought, yeah, so Alex, honestly, it's probably both Alexes. Alex, you, Andrew, Ben.
Yeah,
Probably.
no, like I said,
Good.
very, very protective over my time. Like, I would much rather be alone in my room than with a negative person.
I have a lot of other good friends at home, like Zach, but Zach's also like working 40 hours a week right now, so like, I don't connect with him as much as I would like to. So like right now, yeah, it's probably Alex is playing the college basketball, Alex, my girlfriend, and then Chris, Ben, and Andrew. Yeah.
I would always be happy to also meet another person too, right? So like if you put me in a room with 100 people that I don't know, I'm probably going to walk out with at least one person's number that I might like have lunch with and like see if they're going to end up being part of my group.
Do you find that meeting new people and like having to reintroduce yourself and explain your story and everything is like use a lot of energy? Like, I feel like that's one thing for me is like I feel like I'm a very social and communicating, like well-spoken person, but I feel like if I have to like, for example, I'm looking for an internship right now.
Yes.
And I have connected with a ton of people that I've been connected to. So my dad or my grandfather or my cousins are connecting with people, and then I will connect with them, and they will connect me with other people. And I'm working on building this network to hopefully land a internship in finance, and I feel like I'm getting closer and closer every day. But I've had a ton of conversations.
Yes.
And at some point, it starts to be draining to re-explain, hi, my name is Max Rowan. Like, I go to Elms College in Chicopee, Massachusetts. I'm an accounting and finance double major. And like, it's just kind of a little bit draining. Do you feel like that, or are you always happy to introduce yourself and explain you and your story, and it doesn't really weigh on you a little bit?
90% of the time, I'm happy to do it. And I know I'm using like interesting percentages, but like, yeah, there's 10% of the time where I'm just like, please, everybody, leave me alone.
Yeah, I feel like maybe I'm like 60% happy to do it.
But you're
40%
also
leave me alone.
You're also in a very different situation. See, this is the other thing about the whole networking too, and where you are in your career. So, you know, like I said, I've been in 4 positions here at Elms, and every single one of them, somebody has come and asked me if I would consider this, right? So that's because people know me, people understand where I'm coming from. On the other hand, when you all are going out and looking for jobs and stuff
No one
like
knows
that,
you.
you gotta get ready because you're gonna do it 3,000 more times, and that's good because that's how you're gonna be out there.
Yeah, I feel like another thing is also because I'm looking for jobs at home, like in Canada, and kind of what I'm doing is very unheard of from the area that I live in, like going to the U.S. To play basketball, and then like not really many people are even doing double because the school system is completely different, so it's not really possible to really do a double major unless it's like a specific program, and like so people don't really live on campus for 4 years, so they don't really understand like, what it's like to be like a RA, and like I'm doing a lot of things that are very unfamiliar, so people like I guess find that interesting. So I often have to do a lot of extra explaining. But I mean, I don't mind to do it, and obviously it's something you need to do. But sometimes I feel like you, for example, of a person who you said you would go into a room with 100 people and at least get one phone number or something like that. I feel like at some point it would be draining for me.
Yeah.
But that just might be something that goes away with, I guess, time and reps.
But that's also something too to like, and again, part of this the whole personality thing. So you may find that part of you, like you get your energy by just going and being alone for a minute to like regroup, reorganize, this. For me, I'm getting my energy by talking to another person.
Yeah. So that, like me and Chris are 2 completely different types of introverts. Like I feel like I go out, enjoy communicating with people, but like I need to recharge by myself. Chris is happy in a basement by himself with absolutely nothing but the ability to do push-ups.
Yeah, like I have noticed that over time that actually does wear on you, like both ends of the spectrum, where you just like don't talk to anybody. You put the hood up, put the headphones on, and just like nobody look at me or even breathe in my direction.
And you realize that you haven't spoken a word in 4 days.
Maybe I should go interact with society a little bit here. But yeah, one of the things you said there too that I kind of picked up on was, now I'm having a brain fart. I was going to lead into, do you have any regrets from your college career, like maybe people you lost touch with or things you wish you would have done differently?
Yeah, I actually do wish I had paid a little bit more attention to my academics. I don't know what that would have done differently for my career path, but I was smarter than I showed to the people at the college that I went to. And then luckily I got to do my MBA and show that and show my parents that I knew how to do everything.
For somebody in this room that's not me, that is not performing nearly to the capability of their academic potential, what would you say to him? Because somebody like Christopher Alfred Beeman might think that he might not use what he is learning now in his everyday life in order to be successful. And so, like you said, you don't know what it would have done for you, but what is one reason that you might emphasize to somebody like Christopher Alfred Beeman to put a little bit more effort, or to maybe do your sign language stuff a little bit proactively?
Here's something really simple. At the end of the day, if you took 3 more hours a week and worked on your academics,
30 minutes a day.
What difference would that make to you in terms of your grade? And it would probably make a good difference, right? And that's not a lot of time out of your, what experiences you can have at college. It's not going to affect the experiences that you can have here outside of the classroom, right? So I think that's the part where, like I said already, and I'll say again, I had a great time at college, but I'm like, gosh, there were a couple things like, I wish I had done that, or I wish I had tried that, or I wish I had done, I was really lucky. One of our business professors was the head consultant for M&M Mars, and he was awesome. By the way, his name was Dr. Hook. He has
That's
passed.
kind of fire.
Yeah, I know,
Dr.
right?
Hook's kind of
Dr.
fire.
Hook. He has since passed, but I was in his class, and he would talk to me all the time. He's like, "Why? What are you doing? Like, do better." Like he could see that I could do better. And so finally one day we had to do presentations. And of course, here I am, whereas, by the way, for all of you in my class, yes, I will still complain about all these things forever. But I walked up there, and this was before PowerPoints. This is like you're just talking, basically, and maybe you have a cardboard, behind you with something on it. And I had these scraps of paper that I was like using to just remind myself what I was supposed to be saying. Afterwards, he's like, "Nancy," he's like, "you are a presenter. You can totally do this. Why do you bring up these ripped up pieces of paper with your notes on it? Like, duh, like, what are you doing?" Plus the fact I tell all the classes that, you got to dress up, you got to do this. Should I confess to this? Yes, I'm going to confess to this.
Live confession. Nancy Davis on the podcast.
Right? Except for presentations, I spent every day of my college career walking around in boxer shorts, a ponytail on top of my head, a big T-shirt or a big polo, and back in the day we had this thing called EG socks, and they were really big scrunchy socks
I know what
that
you're
you
talking about.
push down with your white Keds. What was I thinking?
So you're saying if you go back, you would up your swag?
I think I would up my swag a little bit, at least to go to class. I don't care if I'm walking around in front of the kids in front of it, but that's why when students come into my class, in their pajama bottoms or stuff, I might tease them. There you go. But at the same time, I'm like, it's college.
So I'm going to put you on the spot and challenge you. The previous question I just asked you a little bit.
Uh-oh.
So what would you say to somebody whose initials are CAB and
Another one for me.
Another one for
who's
you.
not motivated by grades? So you're telling him to spend 30 more minutes and your grades will, but what if that's not a motivating factor for him? What is the benefit of putting in that extra 30 minutes a day?
It's like a kid who just got caught stealing, and I'm going to take an extra 30 minutes.
Well, I think that one of the big benefits, because again, when I went to college, it was a different price category, but it's so expensive to come to college. Why would you waste that? Right? And granted, that's also when you go down the road and you take your graduate program and you're probably paying out of your own pocket, right, to do all of it, you will feel that difference. But right now, I think the other thing that you could be finding is if you spend that extra time, you never know what door it opens for you. Or who sees that little difference in what you're doing. And again, I don't know that I'm
That's fair.
gonna
I'll
make
take
a
Chris
huge
off the hot
difference.
seat.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
I'll take Chris off the hot seat.
Thank you,
But I just
Chris.
was, what do you call it? But Chris's graduate program will probably be like Alex Hormozzi's course.
My graduate program will be out of here because I'm definitely not taking an extra couple of years.
Yes.
I didn't also mean to make it seem like Chris is doing bad.
No,
Chris is
I
not
know.
doing bad in school by
No,
any
I
means,
know.
but Chris is a very intelligent person
Yes.
that is not. He's a 4.0 guy that doesn't have a 4.0, to be honest with you.
Right.
So I wanted to get some perspective because it drives me nuts when I want to, let's record a podcast. I can't. I got to do 15 hours of sign language in the next 1 hour for my class that's due tomorrow morning. Otherwise, I'm going to fail. And then I was like, he gets it done. He gets it done.
There's a few that are on the cusp, and we're going to see in the next week here. Hands out.
But he always gets it done.
Yeah.
But as a person, like we were talking about before, who is very proactive, and being someone that also cares about Chris, like he said,
Yeah.
we're each other one of the 5 people we spend the most time around.
Yeah.
I personally feel are impacted by Chris's stress of having to,
Oh,
Of
okay.
having to
You're
cram-
affecting your friends' health.
no, just me. But this also isn't new though. This also has been
Yeah.
like our whole
This
friendship.
is going to be an incredibly paradoxical statement, but it bothers me how much things don't bother me. Like, it takes
Oh.
so much to get. Like, sometimes I wish it would be like him, where just a little thing will set me off and I'll go do my stuff. But like, it has to pile and pile and pile on before you just see me cracking. Like, it just takes so much
Like,
to
I-
actually bother me.
Over Thanksgiving break, we were coordinating like when we're gonna be able to, because me and Chris are driving home together.
Yeah.
Chris has a car here, so he's gonna drive me home. And I was like, "Yo, do you have any exams this week?" He's like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Well," because he was so like he said there was a blizzard at home, and so like he was
Yeah.
doesn't have snow tires on his car, and he lives where it was like it was the eye of the storm, and so he was like, "I might not be able to get back until like Tuesday or Wednesday." I'm like, "Well, do you have an exam?" And then he's like, "I don't know." And I'm like, "Well, maybe you should figure that." And at that point, it wasn't even like I wasn't even concerned about Chris not coming back. I'll figure it out on my own. I was more concerned of him missing an exam and then it being dark, and then him having to be here for an extra year by
Yeah,
himself.
it takes a lot. Like,
You
right
and
now-
Jaden and Daniel.
Like right now, we're
be
recording.
chilling.
We're going to record like 10 podcasts in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I need to stockpile for the winter, and I don't have snow tires on my car, and I have exams, and I just got a speeding ticket, and like it takes a lot. And like right now, I'm a little bit stressed, but like it took all of that for me to finally be like, holy, I'm actually going through it a little bit right now.
Well, here's the other good news I will give you. The Center for Student Success, there's lots of good places that you can sit up here and do the schoolwork that you have, and
promo.
aside from doing your podcasts up here. And sometimes we have really good snacks.
Now, Chris, you know where Chris does his homework? He
In his room?
No,
In your classroom, in the same.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
not up here. He just does it in the basement, and he does it like
Yeah.
1 a.m. or like 11 p.m. But
It
I mean,
needs to be grungy. I need everyone to be away from me, and no one in the vicinity, and just by myself.
Yeah. You've got me for about 3 more minutes because I have to go teach class.
Oh, crap, I didn't realize that.
Oh, we can wrap it up.
Yeah.
What's one piece of advice you give to your younger self?
Do a little bit more in college and know that you're going to be awesome.
Vibes.
Vibes. Episode 143.
Thank you.
She like girls who like guns. I like her, she shoots straight. You could model, special issue, safety off, fire away.